left off yesterday. If you have a pitim in an esrog, and the pitim was totally torn out of the esrog, where you have a hole, everybody agrees it's possible. That's possible. What about the pitim is broken off at the very top? Nothing protrudes whatsoever. That was a machlokes in Moed of Ram and Taz. Taz was the most lenient, but most held it's not. If it protrudes slightly, then la halacha, if you have an alternative, you should use the alternative. If not, you can even say a bracha on that esrog, even on the first day. Okay? Then the Ramah discussed the case. What about if it grows without a pitim? Right? And he says, and as a result of, if you look at the top, you're not going to see that. You're not going to see a hole. You're not going to see a hole because it'll look natural. He says, what about if it's so indented on top, it goes to the core of the esrog, to where the seeds and the sackets are. He says, then it's a problem, because that already it's an abnormality. It didn't grow as a normal esrog. Okay, that's what he says. Then he discussed the case. What about if it happens on the tree, and then it heals itself? So he says, if it's too deep, it's only it's like a scab. The esrog is not really. It didn't mend. That's not called mending on the tree. It's not mending. Okay. Nitol eitz shu tolui bo beilon, bikar esrog. Now we're speaking about the ukitz. The ukitz is the bottom of the esrog, right? That's where the esrog attaches to the tree. Alan, you know the ukitz? That's the thicker stem. It's not a stem. It's where it actually attaches to the tree. Even it is the stem. It's like a stem of an apple. That's where it hangs on the tree. So it's the ukitz, right? Nital eichu toli bo beilon mikar esrog. Vinishar mokum guma. Actually, it was torn out. You know, it's the bottom. It's usually on like a diagonal on the bottom. Posel. Why? Because this is no different than the pitim being torn out. That's called choser, right? If it's torn out, that means that's part of the esrog is missing. If the pitim is torn out totally from the top, from its root, everybody agrees it's possible. So the ukitz, we'll call it also hagovi minotel tzas ho'etz nishar ovi kolshu. What about it protrudes? And you take a scissor or a knife and you cut off the protrusion, but it's still there. It's not you tore it out. Shkorocha v'aguma mechuse. That the width of the ukitz, that means where the indentation is totally covered, kosher, 100% kosher. It's simple. When you go and you pick an esrog off the tree, right? Let's say the orchard keeper, he would take his scissor with shears and he would cut it closer to the tree, closer to the esrog. So you'd say that's where it was cut from the tree. So I've cut it and I allow where it was attached to protrudes 3 inches. Now I want to trim it after it's picked. What's wrong with trimming it? What difference does it make if when I cut it from the tree, I cut it close to the esrog? Or now that I picked it where it protrudes 3 inches, and now I shear off and I trim it down to the esrog. Same thing, right? That's not the profile of the esrog. That's where it was attached. But if you should pull it out, then something else. Then you're creating a hole. So that creating a hole, it's a diminishment in hidur, and it's even a question of choser. Because when you pull that out, so if the hole is noticeable, meaning the indentation, then it becomes problematic. You twist it out.
You haven't gone inside yet, but you just removed it from the surface. Is that what we're talking about here? We're talking about pulling it so that you're damaging the surface of it.
See, with an apple, when you look at where the stem is, even when you have the stem, you could see the indentation in the apple. When you have the ukitz, what we call on the esrog, when that ukitz is placed, you know, when you have the ukitz, and they should be told that we're already in operation now. They think nobody's here, so they make the noise. It's disturbing. They're doing construction on the floor underneath. So when you have the ukitz, right, the fact is the stem only fills in a very small part of that indentation. But you see the indentation. The ukitz actually that where there's no indentation whatsoever. It covers the full part of the esrog. It's covered. So if you pull that out, then it's actually, that's a deficient esrog. Firstly, you're creating a hole. You're creating a hole. We'll see in a moment.
So when we get our esrog, it looks like both of it's cut.
Of course it's cut.
Right. So if someone actually pulled it off the tree and...
If you would pull it off the tree...
There'd be no stem on the bottom.
I mean, when they pick apples, they also, if you pull it off the tree, I'm not sure if it's, the question of what gives, You pull a grape off a cluster of grapes, right? There's a stem. Usually you just pull it slightly on the grape, it's going to detach itself. So what happens? The stem pulls out, then you have a hole in the grape.
So if you do that,
And then it starts oozing juice immediately. It starts oozing the juice once you pull it out. You pull the stem out of an apple, it has no effect on the apple whatsoever.
right, if you would pull an esrog off the tree that way, as opposed to cutting it, it's puzzle.
It's puzzle, then it would be puzzle. Puzzle.
It was never part of the esrog, it was part of the tree.
No,
Whatever you want to call it.
No, but again, that's what we're saying. The hole where the ukitz has to be always naturally covered. That means you have to leave part of the stem in the esrog.
It's out of there if it comes off.
If you pull it out,
Yeah.
definitely. You're tearing the esrog. You're tearing it through the flesh.
And what comes out is all that.
We'll see. Let's see Mishna Berura. Did somebody go downstairs to tell him? Somebody should tell him. David, maybe you should go to 27 and tell them to stop. Okay? Or maybe go down to the downstairs, the security, and tell them to call up. Tell them that people were in session. Okay, let's see Ches. V'nisha mekomo gumo. You pull out the ukitz, right? And by pulling out the stem of the esrog, you've created a hole. It's possible. Du b'chal choser. It's called choser. The esrog is what has been compromised. The mushasat chak shim achabir. What happens if this is the only esrog in the city? There's no other esrog. Helo b'tshuvas chacham tzvi shoch levorich olav afil b'yom rishon. This, because we had earlier, it's not simple. What exactly, when you pull it out, even you have to say what's the difference between this and the pitum. See, the pitum is not where it's attached to the tree. So the profile of the esrog is the pitum. The ukitz, it happens to be that's where it's attached to the tree. So it's not the profile of the fruit itself, because it's only the way it's attached. So therefore, that's what he says. B'shasat chak, if you have no choice, it's still considered an esrog. Keim b'shasat chak, yisub zov simitov reish mantesh rochen afila psulin legamri. Koshkim zeshu toli b'shitz rishonim. We haven't gotten there. He says later we will see that some hold that even if you have an esrog which is puzzle, if you have no choice, you're even permitted to say brach on it. We don't rule this way. So he says, so especially here, with others say when the ukitz is removed, according to them, it's valid. It's not possible. Now, we didn't discuss this case before. We said before, Ramos says if the pitum is removed from its root, everybody agrees it's possible. Right? But so what do? Let's say that's the only esrog you have in the community. Are you permitted to take and say a brach on it? So he says, according to what we said from later, you'd be able to. Even on the first day, if you have no alternative. Okay? So the Ramos, no, it's possible. No, because he's going. Lahalochi says that there's an opinion which we didn't have yet, that if you have no choice and the esrog is factually possible, you're permitted to say a brach on it. How does it work? Okay. Don't know. See, why would I differentiate between the esrog and the lulav? But you have, it still has to be the species. Later he speaks about a case in terms of chinuch. The chinuch, what's the whole idea of chinuch? You train the child to a mitzvah. Let's say you have an esrog which is a lemon. You have no esrog, and you give the child a lemon or some other type of citrus fruit, and he holds it with the lulav, does the father feel his obligation of raising the child or training the child to do the mitzvah? What? That's and you have, which means you have no alternative. You have nothing other than that type of fruit to give to the child. Is that chinuch or is not chinuch? La'alach, we rule later, it's not chinuch. Chinuch means it has to be the species. Even though it may be posel, it's still chinuch, because at least you have the species. But if it's another species, you're not training to do the mitzvah. It's like you give him an apple, right? You give him an apple, you stake with the lulav. Well, apple has no relevance to the daled minim. So a lemon is a different species. It's not a nesser, it's not a citron. It's a lemon. Okay? Meaning, the ukitz remains, but you sheared it, you trimmed it till the esrog. Shiyuchal al koponim lemali korocha v'aguma min ovio. V'avim ma'alim min aguma lo nisham mashu gamkin kosher d'sula mikri choser. See, as we differentiated, we had before, many held that regarding the pitum, that if it's cut at the very end, although the root of the pitum is not removed, it's possible. Right? That was the Mogan Avram, it's possible. But here was saying that if it's trimmed even to the surface of the esrog on the bottom, it's kosher. Because we're dealing with two different things here. Here we're dealing with choser, there we're dealing with what the esrog is, with hodar. It's two different things. Like I said, the pitim is, that is the profile of the esrog. So therefore, even if you have something slightly protruding from the top, it still has its profile. But the ukitz has nothing to do with the profile of the esrog. The ukitz, that's how it grew on the tree. So as long as it's not choser, so it's therefore, even if it's trimmed to the surface, when nothing protrudes, there's no reason to invalidate it. Why should I invalidate it? Right? That's the differentiation between the pitim and the ukitz. Okay? See, the ukitz that it's removed, it's very rare such a thing should happen. But no, it has nothing with seeing. No, but again, it's not the profile of it's not the fruit, right? That's the way the fruit grows. That's all it is. That's the ukitz. Not an accident. That's it. That ukitz, if you take your thumb and you push it, it will come out of the esrog. I mean, you'll tear part of the esrog. That's why it becomes choser. No, here's the intention. The person who takes a shears and trims it. No, definitely. You drop it, it's not going to break. No, the ukitz will not break. Definitely. See, most people don't realize this. Most cases where the pitim breaks, it never, very rarely, does it break exactly at the surface of the top of the esrog. There's always something that remains. So we're speaking about l'chatchila b'di'evid. People, once it breaks, it's possible. It's not. I mean, nobody's of the opinion that it's possible the esrog, even the first day. You definitely, you're permitted to say a bracha. Also chazozis, just in the next halacha. What is a chazozis? Pirish, Targum, or Yalefes, or Chazozon. You know, you find in regard to leprosy. It's a type of adhesion which is on the skin. In Yiddish, they call it, you know, if you go by Srogim, we say, it's called a fleck. It's like you call a person a flake. That's what it is. Something attached to it. It's a scab. That's what a chazos is. It's an adhesion on the skin. In b'shnayim b'shloshim makomos posel. If you have it in 2 or 3 places, esrog is posel. Why? Because again, we had earlier, if you have a number of red berries on a hadas, because it's spotted, you have on one location, it's not a problem. But if you have 2 or 3, it's posel. V'imbokom echod. No, it's not brown spots. Not brown. First, brown is not simple. We had earlier, it has to be. Mishna Berura said, not the mechaber. It has to be black. No. Brown is almost like an intense gold. Gold is still yellow, just more intense. So as it dries, brown also that. If it turns black, that means that's something else. That's already That has no relevance to the color of an esrog. Or he said white. White or black is a problem. Okay, we'll continue this.